has to follow suit. It has to be, there has to be that balance. And it just simply means that what you're saying in retrospect actually is true. Whether it's indie games, game development, from that spectrum across up until we get to the retail side, all of it has to be considered in terms of policy, in terms of going forward, and how we go and future-proof policy, so to speak. I don't know if we've been able to speak to that. Thank you very much. Do we have one? We have one more. Oh, okay, awesome. Please, can the mic come to the front, please? Can the mic come forward, please? Straight forward.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Uche Chukwungonebu. I'm the General Manager, Enugu State Lottery and Gaming Authority. Okay, I have a question for Mr. Alexander. Okay, Leslie, you've done wonderfully well. I followed you all through. NDPC, right? Okay, yeah, I meet your team a lot on events in Lagos, Abuja, Enugu, okay? And it seems after all the events, after all the roadshow, we need to see how does it drive down to our punters, our customers, the man on the street, okay, beyond the talk shows we have. How do we ensure that because this is a government commission, right? Yeah. Is there plans? What are the plans you have in place to make sure that the people on the street know about your policies and how it will affect their life, especially as it pertains to the gaming industry? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. It still goes to what I said earlier. Over 10,000 awareness initiatives done so far. I'm counting, and most of them are not just with big organizations, like we say. I just mentioned the initiatives we have for schools. We also engage with religious societies. We engage with civil societies, We engage with people on the streets. Also, through our road shows and all these things, like you said. We engage with people in the universities. So, yeah, it is our hope that the message gets down to the last person on the streets. Right now, we are working on a statewide implementation of the Nigeria Data Protection Act. And it is going to come with town halls also, And these town halls, the essence of it is to allow individuals from the general public come, learn what we are about, know their rights, ask questions, challenge, whatever assumptions they want to challenge. So these are some of the initiatives you see us like from this coming month now. We are going to begin the statewide implementation of our act, and also with federal MDAs, starting with the education sector. We chose the education sector because we believe there are large volumes of sensitive personal data that are being processed, especially that of children. And there's always this heightened, we believe there should be heightened safeguards when it comes to processing of the data of children. That's why we're starting with the education sector. But like I said, for the statewide implementation, it's going to involve about 2 pilot states from each geopolitical zone for now, for the first implementation. Then, subsequently, we're going to push it down to all other states. And like I said, the town halls are actually the main thing to look out for in most of these engagements. We've trained several MDS, both at the federal level, state level, and any organization that is willing to work with us, you come to us, we discuss well. We can offer you trainings, create awareness in your locality as you may wish, based on collaboration. So these are just some of the things we've done so far. Like I said, it's our aim that every last person on the street in Nigeria knows about their privacy rights, because we can't talk about accountability, transparency, data processing, and all that when people don't know their rights. That's why I was also encouraging everybody in the room to try to understand their privacy rights, so that you know when they are being violated and you can take legal action as the case will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of this fireside conversation. We want to say a very big thank you to the organizers of this program. We want to say thank you to the audience as well for listening to us and participating as well. Thank you very much, Alexander. Leslie, fantastic work. Well done. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much.
Oh, hello. Please put your hands together for them for this fireside chat conversation. Put your hands together for them. You can do better than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dukeli Izebno, for handling that so amazingly well. And to the participants at the fireside conversation, thank you very much for your input to this event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we will be proceeding very quickly now. We have, the next session coming up very shortly, and that next session is a master class. That next session is a master class, but I'd like to inform all participants that our sessions begin tomorrow at 8 a.m. on the dot. Today we started a bit late, and that's why we seem to be rushing a lot of activities today. But tomorrow we have two events. That's the daytime event and the gala and dinner at night. But we will start at 8 a.m. so that we'll be able to finish on time to enable people go freshen up and return in the evening for the dinner. So please do well to join us as early as possible.
And also, please do not forget to use our hashtag EGC2026. Share your pictures, share your story, put yourself out there, just like Leslie mentioned in the fireside chat conversation. It is expedient and important for you to show your journey. Tell people what happened at Enugu Gaming Conference 2026. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay, so we will move straight into the next session, which is the masterclass. And that masterclass, we have two parts to that masterclass. The first will be facilitated by Mr. Emmanuel Ugu, the BD Manager Africa at Even Bets. Can we put our hands together,
put your hands together for
Mr. Emmanuel Ugu as he steps onto the stage to handle the first segment of the session. The session's topic is from zero to live, building and scaling an iGaming platform in Nigeria. Let's clap for him now. Please
put your hands together for Mr. Emmanuel Ugu.
There's a second part to this masterclass,
Yes.
and that will happen just after his own session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You're welcome, Mr. Emmanuel.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me. Enugu Kwenu. Enugu Kwezo no. It has been a dream come true to speak on this stage because I was born and brought up here in Enugu. And I started my gaming career here with bet shops almost 10 years ago. So it's a full circle moment for me. So today we're talking, it's a technical masterclass, but I'll try to dumb it down as much as possible for everybody who understand the industry and who don't understand the industry to feel amongst. And at the end of the session, you'll feel free to ask questions.
Just before he starts, please, we'd like to make this very important announcement. All state regulators and state internal revenue delegates will be having their roundtable meeting after the event at Wells Royal Hotel rooftop at 6 p.m. All state regulators and state internal revenue delegates will have their roundtable at 6 p.m. at the rooftop of Wells Royal Hotel. Abia, Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Taraba states, you are expected to be there. Operators who are interested in joining the meeting are also enjoined to be there at 6 p.m., the rooftop of Wells Royal Hotel. Thank you. Please go ahead.
All right. So we're looking at platform strategy from zero to live, building and scaling an iGaming platform in Nigeria. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so the Nigerian gaming market in a nutshell, we have about 18.8 million active bettors. We have about 3.6 billion estimated market size, and it's growing exponentially. I believe in the past year, it grew by 44%. And we're looking at 90% of the bets played are on mobile phones, with 75% of that market on sports betting. So there's so many other sectors in sports that our market is not yet
exposed to. But if you go to a betting shop, you will see virtual bets. If you go online, you see online casino, you will see slot games, you will see the popular live crash games. These are new markets. They're not new in our industry, but they're new in our region, and they are growing exponentially. So the demand is proven. The regulatory reset has not been priced in yet. Next slide, please. So, one country, 36 markets. We're just looking at how regulation has changed in the past few years. Next slide, please. And I want us to look at this number here. It's very important that when you're building an iGaming brand, when you're building a sports betting brand, I will tell everybody to think like the Chinese. Be pragmatic in your approach, right? I've seen sports betting brand firsthand spend over 500 million naira invested. They got a license, they got the tier 1 sportsbook feed, payments wired, senior staff, a big exorbitant office, and at the end of the day, it folded with nothing to show for it. You understand? And at the end of the day, here are some of the key mistakes and the key takeaways. There's no traffic acquisition strategy, no promotional logic tied to behavior, players' activities, no player strategy, time spent to return on investment, and at the end of the day, a full cost base and near zero traffic, right? At the end of the day, if you check traffic on some of these platforms, you should be able to do that with some softwares. You will see that some platforms like SportyBet will have over 60 million monthly active users. Your BetNiger will have over 10 million active users. Traffic is what indirectly affects what we call FTDs and players on that platform. So it's a very important aspect of having a sports book today. Next slide, please. Okay, yeah. So here are some of the main components of owning a sports betting site. And this, I just tried to summarize, but the first part is player facing. So you need to have a website where they can reach you. A PWA, so what's a PWA? A PWA is like a light version of a mobile app on an Android phone. Most developers would know this, but for those who don't know, it's just an app on your mobile phone. Sportsbook front end, so it's basically a sportsbook engine where the feed is. You can do an integration for that. Casino and virtuals, you also do an integration for that. It's one API. And you almost have you already have a sports betting site now, once you have these things in place. Now, on the other side of it, the core. So that's the front facing that we see every day. The things that you might not know. Player account management. Every player has to be managed. From onboarding till their life cycle on that platform has to be managed. The wallet and ledgers to take funds, receive funds, withdraw funds. All this needs to be registered on the ledger, which my co-host will be speaking on eventually. Bonus engines and risk engines. Very pivotal, because you don't want to be the sports betting site that is giving money away for free. You want to be the sports betting site that is making money. So your bonus engine needs to be dialed in. Then regulatory edge. So you need to look at jurisdiction and geo engines, identity and exclusion, reporting, tax and audit. Next slide, please. All right, so build, buy, or license against new cost flows. So basically, you have 3 options. At least that's how I see it. You can come up with one. You're not boxed into anything. You can start a full build of your own sports betting site, and it will take you 12 to 24 months. So all those 9 components, you can build it yourself within 2 years, right? But before you go live with a product in 2 years, you need speed. Competition has come in with a lot of money and taking those customers from you. So it's a difficult place to be, except you are coming in with an edge. So you can look at something like predictions market. Predictions market is the new gold mine in gaming, right? And eventually we'll be able to figure out how regulation works with predictions market. But for current sports betting setting, this is a no turnkey solution. So you can go live within 12 weeks. My friend Joel will be able to know that because he's the top salesman for a great turnkey solution. So they give you the sports book, they give you the slots, you merge everything together, they give you player management, softwares, and so on. And within 12 weeks, you just get your domain, and you should be live with a sportsbook brand, right? Or you could just buy one off the market and just integrate your turnkey solution with that license, right? Then on the other hand, you have a mixed hybrid system, which is what I recommend and what we'll be speaking on today, which is basically owning the ledger, owning the identity, owning the jurisdiction reporting, and also the harder integration parts. It's very important for you to be able to build a sustainable sports betting brand in Nigeria in 2026 and moving on. Why is this important? Because you want to be able to optimize each individual areas of your business to be able to grow revenue. You are a business at the end of the day. You're commercially driven. So you need to be able to make the right engagements, to be able to continue to grow. Something that is key here I wouldn't want to miss is the key identity on the NIN and not the phone number. At the end of the day, if you're creating a sports betting platform, it's important to tie each player to their NIN and not just their phone number. So every one of these objects carries a state attribute. So you have to look at players, categories, you have to look at sessions of your platform, you need to look at bet stakes, you need to look at settlements, where these players are settling within each region, as well as bonus liabilities and what GGR looks like and tax looks like per region, as well as ledger entries. Next slide, please. So build for the network your players actually have. All of us here, we have a smartphone, right? So it is, and I would say maybe 50% of us here work every day with our laptops, right? So it's important to build for what the players actually have. So it has to be mobile first. That is proven. What are the biggest networks we have in this country? We have MTN, Airtel, and the two smaller ones are your 9Mobile and Glo, which, we understand how difficult it is with those networks. So you need to understand each network and each connectivity level. Some regions use as low as 2G, 3G, and if better now, 4G or 5G in some cases, right? So you need to be able to build a platform that has a low resolution but good interface so that it can even load in 2G environments. Because if your players cannot open, if it takes them 10 seconds or more than 5 seconds to open your platform, you have lost users. That is churn. That is money spent on marketing and traffic that you have lost on users because they have not been able to access your platform immediately. You need to integrate payments that enable them on board easily, and you need to meet them where they are with payments. You can't just add OPay, PalmPay, and say you've added payments. No, you also need to look granularly to USD payments. You also need to look at a payload budget that has a business metric, and I will leave my colleague to speak more on these details because he will be going technically into payments. He is one of the best in the industry, and hopefully he will enlighten you guys on how to integrate payments into your sports betting brand so that you can always have the upside. Next slide, please. All right. So you need to also design for degradation. The most valuable moment is a fast payout on a big win. Your most damaging is a stock one. So at the end of the day, you don't want a player to win 100 million on your site and you take them 2 days to receive their money. If you win 100 million now for sports betting site and they tell you, say, you receive your money in 7 days, you go think say they don't scam you. So at the end of the day, it's very important that you pay out immediately. Pay out and cash out immediately is one of the most important things for a sports betting site. And that is why Sportybet has one of the highest edge today because they were one of the first people to integrate this solution. And that's why everybody now has a Sportybet app and so on. So the market is a very big market, especially payments. We are looking at billions in transaction in the sports betting app on a monthly and trillions generally on a daily basis across Nigeria of how payment moves. So you need to find the right payment rail that works for your platform. Next slide, please. All right, so this I want to touch on, and I would love for you guys to listen carefully, because this is where your sports betting brand is made or break. You spent 100 million in license, you've paid a developer another 50 million to integrate the sportsbook engine, the slots, the casino, the payment gateway is there, right? But then what do you do after that? How do you get the players on your platform? How do you start to make revenue? How do you bring players on your platform so that you make money? So that you could see the 1 billion, the 2 billion in GGR that the big names are making. This is it. This is the format. This is the workbook, the step-by-step template that you need to obsess over. You need to obsess over acquisition. You need to obsess over sign-up and sign-up time. How long does it take a player to sign up on your platform? If it takes a player more than 4 minutes to sign up on your platform, that player is lost. And you need to understand first deposit, that deposit journey for the user. If a user deposits on your platform, do they play the bets at the end of the day, or do they not play the bet? Why didn't they play that bet that they came to play on your platform? Maybe they did not understand your interface, or maybe there was an error in the process, or maybe it was loading for too long. Now you have a first deposit, but you have no real engagement on your platform. So next is engagement. So we need to look at every single metric of engagement for a sports betting platform. I will tell you there are about 20 of them, right? And every single one of them needs to be hammered, needs to be perfect down to the last metric. So you need a retention manager, an engagement manager, you understand, that understands every user's journey at every step of this stage. What did they do first? What did they do second? What did they do third? Where did they churn? Where did they leave the site? How long did they spend playing a game? You understand? How many users spend the most time on these games, right? And also look at the inverse of it, right? What did they like do? Okay, when they go on a game, why do they spend only 3 seconds on the game? Maybe it's not as interesting anymore. So you bring the more interesting game to the front of your website, and you reduce the positioning of the less interesting ones, because at the end of the day, you need to retain these users on your platform. The next thing is VIP retention. VIP retention is important because VIP retention is where your money is made. Because you would think that your day-to-day player is where revenue is at. No. The truth is that most people play sports betting in this region to cash out. It's not entertainment. Me, I go on a sports betting site today to make money. I'm not going there to have fun. You understand? So at the end of the day, you need to understand the psychology behind why these players are playing. And you need to be able to engage your VIP players. Next slide, please. So expectation gaps. So there are some gaps within the way we look at things from the outside as maybe an investor or someone who wants to start a sports betting brand. So everything in the first half of this talk is basically invisible to a regulator, right? The arrogance trap. You see the numbers, the top operators post, you do not see that they have failed repeatedly to get there. Your Sportybet is their second run. They failed initially, they left, and they came back. The same people who brought you Sportybet brought you PalmPay, and you might not know that because they have history in this market. They've been here for a very long time. Your Bet Niger and your Bet Kings have been here for over 10 years now, and they have studied this market. So if you think you're just going to come in with your maybe 10 million or your 50 million and you start a brand, you are competing with giants who have been here for such a long time. The product fit delusion, feeding players whatever sportsbook and casino content you happen to sign is not enough. You need to understand, you need to do a competitor analysis and understand what others have on their sports book, what players are looking out for, and you need to give them a similar feeling from what they already know. You don't need to go away from that. Next slide, please. All right, so here we're just looking at the operator as the king. The operator that you are, you have created your sportsbook brand now, you're the king. You've connected all the dots, you've gotten the right team, you're now looking at making revenue, right? At the end of the day, you have the regulator who is there to checkmate you. You have the traffic engine who is very important to drive traffic to your platform, because where you drive traffic from is very important, because they are low quality traffic and they are high quality traffic. At the end of the day, you need to have a sustainable solution to get consistent traffic on your platform. I want to ask you one question. How many of you guys here watch the World Cup on Sporty TV? So if you can see that you watch that on Sporty TV, that is a traffic source for Sporty Bet. So you need to figure out how to generate high value traffic for your platform. Then the other aspect of it is software, turnkey, casino, and virtuals. These are where your BDMs like myself come in, and we try to get you on the best casino games, the best slot games, the best softwares to enable you do your business. On the other hand, we have price the leverage into the deal. Make sure you understand that you're king in every deal. And if a deal doesn't work for you, you mustn't sign it. You must also look at the inverse of it, how to get out of a deal. You need that baked into the commercial at the end of the day. You need to also make sure you understand where the ledger and the data resides of your customers for your platform. Make sure that you pick the right games for the market that you're in or you're starting, and choose the regulatory home that keeps your operations alive. Next slide. So this is the last slide, and at the end of the day, I think the important thing for you to note here is everything else you can rent, right? But jurisdiction, identity, and the ledger are the three things you must own. You must own the jurisdiction in which your players are coming from. You need to understand this. You need to understand the regulation there. You need to also understand the identity of each of your players, maybe via NIN, contact number, and where they reside, as well as the ledger, where are all the transactions sitting. All the deposits, the withdrawals, the activities the players take on your platform, where does it sit? That you need to own. Every other thing you can rent. The sportsbook interface, the app, people have apps already that you can just integrate with, but these are the data that you must always keep, and for no reason do you delegate them to another platform. So compliance keeps you legal, commercial obsession keeps you alive, an obsession with your player journey and how they churn on your platform keeps you alive. All of this is upstream of code, and if you get any of this wrong, at the end of the day, you'll be one of the unfortunate stories in the industry. But if you get every single step of this right, you're building a brand that will live in history and will make you commercially viable. Thank you.
A round of applause for Mr. Emmanuel Ugu. An amazing presentation, I must say. Did you enjoy the presentation? Me, sir, when I open my own betting brand, I don't obsess over it. I don't brood over the idea. And I think I'm going to hire him. I hope I can afford you, sir. I can afford you. Because I heard something about 50 million about programmers. One more time, a round of applause for him, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel Ugu, for that insightful one. And Von mentioned in the beginning that he's not just the only person doing the masterclass. He's going to be joined by Idorain Williams, who is a front-end engineer and creator of Use Africa Pay, who focuses on the hands-on technical work around payments integration. Please put your hands together as we welcome Idorain Williams.
Put your hands together while he comes. That's the second session. And after this, After this, we will take questions from you because I'm sure you want to ask questions. Both of them will take the questions together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Good evening. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that very wonderful presentation. That was excellent and well captured. Thank you so much.
Okay, you need the laptop.
All right. So just like I was introduced, my name is Idorian Williams. I'm a software engineer, as well as the creator and the maintainer of Use Africa Pay. Use Africa Pay is actually a payments orchestration platform that actually allows you to integrate multiple payments providers into your platform. It also gives you a smart routing for a failover. So imagine you had Flutterwave in your system or Paystack and they both have issues. You can actually, the system actually reroutes to the next available provider and gives you successful processing of your payment. All right. So for my section, I'll be looking at payments. Emmanuel has delved into the platform thoroughly. He has killed everything around platform. I'm going to be looking at the payments, which is the core part of your platforms. Most operators actually ignore these things. They just say, oh, bring on Flutterwave into my system, bring on Paystack, and everything is okay. But if you don't pay attention to what you're doing with payment, you'd lose most of your players. Emmanuel spoke briefly on it, talking about a player coming on board your platform and then they tried to deposit. The first time they hit deposit, it failed. Trust me, you've lost that player. All right, so we'll go into the first the slide. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so first of all, I want to start by changing our mindset on how we see payments as operators. I spoke to an operator when I came in here earlier, and I was talking to him about payments and how he handles payments with his guys, and he told me, man, I let the PSP handle these things for me. But I think as an operator, you need to know how this works. You need to know how your development team are actually working and how they are helping you integrate this payment, what failovers they are actually implementing into the whole thing, and also the safe grounds in which they've actually thrown it for you. All right, so the deposit screen is your real conversion funnel, right? The deposit screen where your players come in and make deposits is your real conversion funnel. So imagine your player comes into your platform like I mentioned earlier, and they tried making a deposit, and for some reason it failed. You've lost that particular player, right? And we know how the matches go. Let's use the World Cup as a case study, right? Somebody comes in and probably maybe just following the match, and then he wants to put in a pointer just right there and then, right? And for some reason, your platform payment integration is lagging, right? And then the player maybe has clicked deposit for some reason, and then that didn't go through because of the integration processes and all of that. And then they lost that particular chance of actually placing that particular bid. So money moves at match time. And then another thing I have here on my slide is payout speed is retention. Yes. So your payout speed is retention. Emmanuel spoke too on it too about how long it takes for somebody to be able to process payments from your platform or maybe handle your withdrawal. Say they've put in the bids and then they've won a particular amount. How long does it take for them to be able to process that money out into their local accounts? Next slide. So we're going to be looking at the rails that works here in Nigeria. So one of the rails that works here in Nigeria is the bank transfer rails. We have lots of rails. I think I have about six rails out here. So we have the bank transfer rails, which is the NIPS virtual account. It's actually more like the most convenient one currently for most operators, all right? Because of how the banks have actually tried to make things okay, the likes of OPay, they've come in to make transactions very fast and easy outside the application. So bank transfer is one of the rails. We have card rails. Card rails, we'll be looking at things like Valve, Visa, and MasterCard. We have the wallet rails. USSD for those with slow internet connection. We have vouchers and cash code, and then we have payouts over NIPS. Each of these rails are actually very important, and in fact, since you know the demographics of your players and also where they are coming from, and also understanding the context of Africa, just like one of the speakers actually spoke earlier about building around the context of the where you're from, building around Africa and what it stands for and what it also possesses. So when you understand Africa, personally, you'll be able to know that, okay, fine, definitely you need to bring in bank transfer, you need to make sure USSD is available, and also other smart ways of making payments. So, but my advice to you when making these things is you should lead with bank transfers, because that is actually one of the most swiftest one here in Nigeria. Next slide. So building a platform as an operator, you would not be talking to rails directly, right? You'll be talking to rails through gateways, so PSPs, right? So that's why we're looking at people like Paystack, which is most of the guys we're bringing into our system, people like Flutterwave, InterSwitch. These are all gateways that allows for quick checkouts. So one API is able to fund things out with the rails. I will not bore us to go into coding and sharing code bases and also sharing the implementation process. I'll try to make the slides fast so that we can move on to the question, the Q&A session, so that me and Emmanuel can answer that for you. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, on the next slide here, I have the anatomy of deposits, right? It's more like a breakdown of how your deposit works on your application, right? So we're looking at the things like your player comes into your platform and he sees the CTO you have called deposits, taps on deposits, and once he taps on deposits, the next steps he gets is actually more like, say, the transactions under the hood is actually being initiated or maybe it's created, right? And then the gateway takes over and does the checkouts for you. And then there's something we call webhook, right? Which actually fires right immediately to the URL in which you've provided, which is your API. And then what happens is the next step is credit. These things happen so fast that most times you could actually miss it if you think it's just the same thing like going into the bank and then giving a teller your slip and then waiting for them to probably maybe log it out or credit it for you to get funds. They'll be able to make this thing so fast for us that the process goes even without you even noticing it. Next slide, please. So is that the premise of this that Use Africa Pay was born, being able to bring together the fragmentation we have in payment. Like I mentioned earlier, Use Africa Pay has to do with integrations of more than different payment providers. So for now, for what we have Paystack integrated, we have Monify by MoneyPoint. We also have a Remitter, and then we have Flutterwave. So instead of you having to take time to bring in these guys individually into your system, which is what people do currently, most of the systems are using this exactly. They have a separate integration for Paystack, a separate integration for Monify, a separate integration for Flutterwave, but with Use Africa Pay, you're able to bring in these African providers into one single API, and then it has a fail-safe that will route your transaction just in case Paystack is down, and then your player really needs to move forward. Or probably maybe Flutterwave is down, and then you really need to move forward. It does that fail-safe moving to the next available provider. Let's go into the next slide. Right, so what I have here is just more like a breakdown of how Use Africa Pay works under the hood. For those of us that are engineers, developers in the house, will be able to understand how this works. So you could see where we have the provider. You could pass in an array of providers you have. and then the most available provider is always going to be cut. And it also normalizes the transaction amounts, because this is one of the issues we have with using multiple providers. You have Paystar processes transactions in Naira, and then you have another particular provider processing transactions in Kobo, right? So if you bring these guys most times in together, you likely might have issues. But when you use Africa Pay, we've been able to normalize all transaction amounts in Kobo so that everything gets processed. Once a player loads the amounts they want to put in, we transfer it to Kobo and then send it back to the appropriate provider to do the processing. Next slide. Next slide, please. All right. So on this next slide, we have webhook here, talking about how the money actually moves, like how your players' money actually move. Yeah, we know you deposit and then they see their balance, but how does the money move? So we're looking at it moves through a system called a webhook. We have a verified signature. We have what we call idempotency. We have what we call act fast, meaning it acknowledges the money fast, right? And then we have an engine that actually verifies the transactions and ensures that the actual wallet is actually credited. Let's go on to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right. So payouts, we'll be looking at payouts, where the other half of payments. This is also one of the most important things as a platform owner to also be aware of how payout is actually processed and how to actually handle it. So I have some points I highlighted here. So I have things like instant NIP transfers. These are the things that actually sets the bar for payout. Another thing people look out for under the hood is name matching before the money actually leaves your balance, right? You also need to be aware of your limits and your liquidity, fraud control, right? And also make sure you have a daily reconciliation of your processes. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so I drafted out 6 pitfalls here that actually bites everyone. Most of these things, most operators are actually really not concerned with these things. We say, as long as the money is coming into the sites, we're okay as operators, but no, that's not the real thing. If you want to look at your system strategically, you definitely find out that you're leaving money on the table. And that is not what you want, because in the long run, it will definitely start shooting, right? So there are several pitfalls you have to be aware of. Right, one of the pitfalls here, I talked about trusting the client's callback. All right, so credits only when the verified webhook treats on success as a unit hint and never as a proof of payment. All right, so you only credit your players only when the webhook returns on success. Right. Another thing I have here is duplicate credits on retries. This happens most times to some providers. Some operators rather, talking about duplicate crediting and all of those kind of things. So idempotency is a key preference. You need to enforce something we call unique constraint on your database layer, meaning every particular player, every particular transaction needs to be tagged with a unique identifier. Most times, I think I talked about the Kobo and the Naira confusion. That's because of the multiple gateways we have currently, the fragmentation we have in between them. We have some gateways that process transactions in Naira, and we have some that actually processes it with Kobo. So if you're using a Naira PSP, and then your integration layer was already registered with Naira. So maybe something happens, a player had a downtime, and you went back to your system to do a swap or a change or whatever you want to do, to switch to the next available provider without changing your payment system back from the Naira to Kobo, you start losing money. So that's why systems like Use Africa Pay comes in to be able to normalize this thing for you out of the box, where you don't have to worry about those things anymore. So we have another thing we call single gateway dependency. This is a very big hook. People actually do this. Most platforms depend on a single payment provider, say Paystack. Everybody trusts Paystack. Paystack is good, it's nice, but at least they have their own downtime. They have system downtime here and there, but most operators actually lean towards having one single gateway, and that is not good. Most platforms actually have webhooks that actually don't go through, right? Maybe for whatsoever reason, maybe the implementation process, the way the system was being put together, the webhook is broken, and if that happens, it's a pitfall for your system. And the last one on the list there is no reconciliation job. So I said your daily automated recons from day one, alerts on any mismatch, small discrepancies are how big losses starts. So you should have a system that is being set up in a way that alerts you in case anything goes wrong. Let's move to the next slide. All right, so KYC and AML. We had the panel session we just had was very, very insightful. They delved deep on data protection and all of that. KYC shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be something you embed into your system, not in a way that actually stops your user from getting on board your system, right? Emmanuel touched on it when he was talking on the session on the platform area of things. He spoke about bringing in KYC at the point where they are about funding, not at sign up. So let people sign up to your platform, right? Let them come in, get into the system, enjoy the interface and all of that. But when it gets to the point where they want to start processing payments, when they want to start making deposits, that is when you bring in your KYC. Right, so we talked about AML, you're a reporting entity. Gaming operations carry monitoring and reporting duties under the Nigerian AML regime. So you need to watch out for structures. Whatever they have going, you need to be able to ensure that your system is compliant to this thing. I won't dwell much on this. I'll move on to the next one. All right, so as an operator, most of the operators, they spend a lot of money on engineers. Emmanuel called a particular amount earlier. They spend a whole lot of money on engineers. It's not just about bringing in the engineers to put up the interface, to put up the UI, put up the system, and then you're excited and push it into the market. There are things you really have to be careful about. There are really things you really have to check. There are boxes you really have to check first before letting that product out. One of the ones we have here, it says, things you should have in hand. You should really make sure you have a gaming license at hand. Ensure that your gateway account is properly set up. Also ensure you have a double entry wallet ledger system designed for you. Ensure you have a public webhook endpoint with sign-in credit secrets kept in the vault. Things you need to decide up front. We'll talk about ensure money is an integer in Kobo across your system, which is what Use Africa Pay handles for you out of the box. Do not ever make your the money you're processing ever be in floats, because definitely at some point you definitely get into issues. Reference formats and interpretation strategy. Ensure you have unique identifiers for every transaction, every player in your system. Ensure you use a multi-gateway abstraction, like what we have in Use Africa Pay. Reconciliations, login and alerting as launch requirements, not as a fast follows. Let's move on to the next slide. So this is actually the last slide I have for you. So I would say the 5 things I want us to take home from this conversation today is for integrations, for Rails, ensure you go with bank transfer, and not also throw in 2 or more Rails to be able to accommodate people from different regions around where your jurisdiction covers. And also ensure your money moves on a verified webhook, not on the client's callbacks. Ensure every integration and amount you're integrating in is done in Kobo, and also ensure you have instant payouts, because these are also the way you do retentions of players, rather. And then KYC AML reconciliations are also things you should not play with. Thank you very much. We'll be moving on to the Q&A. So if you have questions, you can bring them on.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we put our hands together for him one more time? So we will now be taking questions from the audience. I had fun listening to both of them. Very, very educative, sessions they have there. So, but if you have questions, please indicate and I can get the microphone to you. But just before then, this is to remind that all state regulators and states' internal revenue delegates will be having their roundtable this evening at 6 p.m. at the rooftop of the Wells Royale Hotel, 6 p.m. this evening. So all those from Abia, Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Taraba, and other operators who are interested to join can please join. Any questions for both of them? Could you indicate? No questions? They did a great job. In fact, talk and made it here. Make it not be like say with the former. Talk and made it here.
They did a great job.
So you guys here, you did a great job. So it was quite explanatory. So please stand up and take a photo together. And can we appreciate Mr. Emmanuel and Mr. Doyere one more time?
Please celebrate them one more time. It's not been easy. Going through slides, teaching us from zero to live, building and scaling an iGaming platform in Nigeria. Put your hands together once again for both of them as they make their way down the stage. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm preparing to hire both of them to work for me. I'm moving from zero to live very soon, and both of them are going to, be my special advisors. So the startup pitch is meant to happen today, but I'd like to invite Peace Wamba. I'm sure she can hear the sound of my voice from where she is, so that she can tell us more about the startup pitch. And while she finds her way to this place, I'd like to also remind us that tomorrow we are starting at exactly 8 a.m. No African time. Today we started late, but tomorrow we will start at exactly 8 a.m. because we have the dinner and gala happening afterwards. So we would like to have enough break time for us to go and refresh and come back for the dinner and gala. Let's appreciate Peace Wamba while she comes.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I'll be covering our startup pitch competition. I'll just be giving an overview of what to expect tomorrow. Innovation does not emerge by chance. It flourishes where ideas are challenged, talent is discovered, and opportunity meets preparation. That conviction is at the heart of the startup pitch session at the Enugu Gaming Conference 2026. More than a competition, it's a deliberate investment into the future of Nigeria's gaming ecosystem, creating a platform where bold innovators can present practical solutions to some of the industry's most pressing challenges before an audience of regulators, investors, operators, technology leaders, and strategic partners. As gaming continues to evolve beyond traditional operations into a technology-driven ecosystem powered by artificial intelligence, fintech, cybersecurity, responsible gaming, compliance technology, data analytics, and digital infrastructure, the industry requires a constant pipeline of fresh ideas. The startup pitch exists to ensure that groundbreaking Nigerian innovations are not left in the shadows, but are given the visibility, mentorship, and commercial opportunities needed to thrive. Around the world, leading gaming conferences have demonstrated that startup pitch platforms can become launchpads for industry-defining companies by connecting founders directly with investors, decision makers, and strategic collaborators. The startup pitch is therefore more than a program on the conference agenda. It's a commitment to innovation, entrepreneurship, and the belief that the future of Africa's gaming industry will not be shaped only by established organizations, but by the visionary startups bold enough to imagine therefore more than a program on the conference agenda. It is a commitment to innovation, entrepreneurship, and the belief that the future of Africa's gaming industry will be shaped not only by established organizations, but by the visionary startups bold enough to imagine what comes next. And on that note, please, startups, direct your conference grounds today and tomorrow. We have Meet Me Anywhere on the conference grounds. Thank you.
Thank you very much.